Wow, so many videos. Uh, it's October 8th, 2024, 2:38 p.m. Oh my goodness. Please research this. Please pray for discernment for truth on this. But if this video is what is happening, the truth of what is happening, it's going to disgust you. It's going to make you very mad and angry. Uh, I do believe a lot of this stuff is true. They're calling it, misinformation and all that. But watch it for yourself and, decide. This is coming from Hustle.
That we have it.
Come on. All right, so it's coming from Hustle. Here's the name of it. If I remember, I'm so busy, but I'm trying to put the link to this in there. This is gonna be like a mirroring of this because I'm, all credit for Hustle on this, but I think this needs to be seen in its entirety. So, a lot of times when I put the links down there, people won't, go and look at it. So this time I'm going to go through the whole thing. Listen to this. Here we go.
So the more I'm looking into this whole situation, the worse it's getting. We really need to talk about what's happening in North Carolina specifically. I don't know if this is happening in other areas. I've only heard about North Carolina. My mom lives in North Carolina. She's not too far away from what happened. She lost power for about 4 days, but everything's fine. Their roads were fine. But there are areas where that's not the case. Right now, in particular, Chimney Rock has been told that their entire town is federal property now. They can't even go back to their homes. There are bodies that are laying in the water. There are bodies that are laying under trees and in the debris, and they can't get to their family members. The federal government has said that land and all of those bodies are now federal property. The federal government is not wanting to identify any of the bodies. They're just wanting to bulldoze over it and not even count how many people this natural disaster, if you want to call it that, has caused.
You heard that right. The land grab is in full swing, and the little town of Chimney Rock seems to be the very first casualty of this brutal attack. Now, for those of you who don't know, Chimney Rock is about 400 miles from where Hurricane Helene made landfall, and unfortunately, the little community of 140 Americans has been pretty much wiped out.
How long have you lived in Chimney Rock?
Born and raised.
And you said you're 32?
Yep.
Can you describe what this feels like?
At 7 o'clock, we went and checked the river, and it was just starting to hit the tops of the bridges. And when we got back to the firehouse and told the old chief that it was going to hit the bridges, because he was here in '96 when it flooded, and he looked at us like we were crazy.
And now it seems like the vultures are circling back in to divide the land just like they did in Maui. Interestingly, this city is situated in Rutherford County, and according to official records, the county already has multiple mining operations for tin, gold, copper, and rare earth elements. So
there could be a reason why they, did this to get these commodities, including the lithium. In Florida, Tampa Bay is going to be, it looks like that's the main direct hit where the hurricane's going through. And if you look into it in the future, Tampa Bay is going to be a smart city.
It's not really a surprise the town became a target. Now, they can obviously confiscate land through eminent domain, but it looks like there might be another way for them to steal your home if you're not careful, at least according to this story.
I have a dire warning to those that are going to take the money. There is a contract at the beginning when the inspector gets there, before he starts inspecting. There's a contract that the claimant has to sign. Practically illegible. The writing is so small. 12 years ago, I had to use a magnifying glass, and that's when my eyes were good. In that contract, if you do not pay the money back, it is a loan. A loan. And even if it's just $1 or $750, if you don't pay it back, they have the right to seize all of your property.
So basically, you might regret taking that $750, which isn't really going to be enough to help most folks anyway. This is sick if it turns out to be true, and I would really suggest you read the fine print before you end up signing anything. Now, according to some X users, they're already beginning to receive these forms from FEMA. I just hope these people do not end up getting scammed by the very people who are supposed to help them. But looking at what FEMA has been doing so far, I really don't have much hope. Just look at what they're doing in Tennessee.
Doing as much as I possibly can to raise funds for our community in this region. I've been helping people fix their houses up, get water out. This is so disgusting. So watch this. So I've been told this, again, countless times. I've been told this, and I said, I need to verify the story before I post it and I report on this, because this is unbelievably disgusting. But what could we expect from our government? Nothing short of full corruption. So listen, Red Cross and FEMA/TEMA has arrived, and all donations that have been given to local high school volunteers have been confiscated. I have been told this directly. Here's a source. Starting with David Crockett High School, they're taking over all volunteer schools in Washington County and Greene County. That's only 2 counties of the other 7. So many more counties.
Confiscating donations from civilians seems to be the modus operandi in all the affected areas. Now, you might be wondering, what in the world are they doing with these donations? Well, it turns out they're using these resources to fulfill their primary role.
So I'm here in Boone, North Carolina. I'm at the staging area. I volunteered myself and my canines to come up and do some search and rescue efforts. FEMA is in the area, and we've been told that if we see any FEMA agents, hightail it and go. So obviously you see all my equipment. So we've been told to just turn around and go the opposite direction, because what they're doing is they're confiscating everything. They would confiscate all of my gear, my car, my dogs, literally everything. There are some people who have been tracking these FEMA agents and what they do with these supplies after. And these are people that are directly associated with the group that I'm volunteering with. And essentially what they're doing is they're taking these supplies to sanctuary areas for illegal migrants and giving it all to them. They are telling the locals here that they have no more money, that they can't give them any money, they can't do anything, but they are confiscating volunteer supplies as they come through, and they are giving it to people who are not legal within the country.
So basically, they're either hiding...
Unbelievable. So they're taking all of the funds that are supposed to be for disaster relief for Americans and giving them to the illegal migrants. Unbelievable. I was going to say something else, but I forgot. If there's any part in here that goes by fast, you can always rewind it or pause it on that spot to see.
Much needed donations, or straight up handing them over to illegal immigrant shelters. Now, I'm sure some of you might be skeptical of her claim, but if this next clip is authentic, then apparently FEMA has been doing the same thing in Puerto Rico.
I remember this when this happened. They were doing that in Puerto Rico, keeping the food and water away from the people on purpose. And then they've discovered this. It's disgusting. Look at all that. Come on. They suppressed that story too.
Giving donations to FEMA might be bad, and that's exactly what this local police department member is telling everyone.
Donate. Please donate what you can. Try to find a nonprofit to donate to, a church, local PD. A lot of those are taking donations, sheriff's departments. I know my department is running a bunch of stuff to the western part of the state to help. Donate. But please do not donate to FEMA. They are hindering a lot of what people are trying to accomplish out in the western part of the state. FEMA doesn't understand that these Appalachian people are built differently. I am very familiar with them. They are not going to stand by idly and have government officials tell them what to do. FEMA's playing a game of FAFO because free men don't ask for permission. Again, please donate and help these people out. They need us now more than ever.
And if you're one of the unlucky people whose lives
And
have
that's
been
why I'm worried
ruined
about
by the
Florida
storm,
now.
and you're wondering why the government
Tampa
hasn't
Bay.
rushed to help you, well, this man might have some answers for you.
In 2023, FEMA has used about $740 million toward different cities and states to help with a migrant crisis that was created by the current administration. For those paying attention, it's not Trump, it's actually Biden and Harris. Even with that, there's about another $340 million that was left to be allocated in 2023. In 2024, FEMA has already allocated $770 million toward the same exact thing. This money allocation comes from what's called the Emergency Food and Shelter Program. It's a program that's actually designed for American citizens in case of an emergency food or shelter crisis. During the crisis that happened in Palestine, Ohio, there was a whopping $0 that was given to American citizens during that crisis from FEMA. The wildfires that happened in Maui, those 7,000 residents got about $22 million in like housing assistance and about another $30 million to like rebuild, so a whopping $50 million to rebuild them. In North Carolina, where we're seeing all the absolute destruction up there, we have about 13 different military bases that are at the command, including the 82nd Airborne. The 82nd Airborne also has the 18th Airborne, which is probably the most equipped unit to be able to handle these sorts of emergencies. In fact, it's basically why they were created. The Biden administration has been so absolutely bad at this that we're on day 6, and most of these communities in those areas aren't even touched. No one's even seen anybody from FEMA. The Biden-Harris administration has authorized a whopping $750 to help and assist people that are up in North Carolina. These people have no power, no internet, no way to even access the money because most of them don't even have access to a bank right now. It's another reminder that the federal government is not coming to save you. You need to save yourself. You need to plan for yourself, especially with this sort of incompetent administration that we have at hand. Most of the assistance that people
Going back to that one spot.
right now. It's another reminder that the federal government is not coming to save you. You need to save yourself. You need to plan.
Just so you have a chance to read this. This is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So there's your chance to read that part. Sorry, I'm a little shaky with one hand.
Especially with this sort of incompetent administration that we have at hand. Most of the assistance that people are seeing that is actually heading up into the area is all coming from private citizens. People like, that evil Elon Musk that owns X. Elon Musk, along with Trump and others, have already activated his SpaceX program, Starlink, to actually help out those in need in those areas. And he's made it free to people in those areas. Just a reminder, the federal government was allocated about $47 billion to give internet access to people in rural areas. There's been a whopping zero that have been actually helped through that program. And if that hasn't pissed you off enough, it's about $6,000 per illegal immigrant that has come into this country.
Now, by this point, everyone knows how FEMA has been using hundreds of millions of dollars to help illegal immigrants. I made a whole video on it using articles from the most popular news sites. And yet it looks like Google is now trying to bury those articles to the deepest part of the internet.
The media is actively lying about this being a Trump claim because yesterday I saw this on 3 different news sources. This unfortunately is the New York Post. This is the only screenshot I took. I know this because I was researching for a video and I read 3 different articles. None of them really made sense. And now today I'm waking up to see it's like misinformation. Like, no, it's not. You're the one who told us this. Now when I go to look for those articles, they're buried now because this has now become like a conspiracy theory or whatever. I think they're clearly doing it to cause division, but also I'm now seeing also a lot of Democrats and liberals and leftists making incredibly obnoxious and like smarmy videos about like, do you know how the government works? Sort of excusing an atrocious tardy response. Are you guys aware that this happened last Thursday? There's a person who's sitting somewhere right now with a collapsed lung who's like in a mud coffin. You guys are telling people basically to like shut up. They're gonna get $750. And you're saying this because you're like desperate for Kamala Harris to win. I can tell that's what it's about. You like don't want the administration to look bad. The administration is doing a terrible job, and you trying to excuse that is absolutely atrocious. As
don't vote for the devil.
They're like smarmily telling other people.
Now, moving on, I saw another really interesting post from a trucker who explains how something very shady is going on in Asheville, North Carolina.
The people in North Carolina, you deserve to hear this. I'm a truck driver. All right. I have a 53-foot step deck. I've been trucking for about 2.5 years. I have a YouTube channel. You can verify that on Babyline Hotshot. Usually in a disaster situation, it is payday for truckers. We look for that hurricane. We look for that ice storm. There's generators coming to you. There's stuff coming out of military bases. There is excavators, skid steers, bulldozers, tree trimming equipment, pumps, like water pumps to pump water out of places that have been flooded. There's no loads on the load board coming to you within 125 miles of Asheville. It's called Truck Stop. This is where I find all my loads. Chicago, Illinois, up at the top. Within 250 miles of Chicago is where I'm going to pick up. The second is the destination. So it goes origin, destination. Watch. See? Drop-off location. Let's do city. Asheville, North Carolina. Click it. Boom. All right.
Nothing.
These are all $1.40 a mile loads, $1.39. That was posted yesterday. I mean, there's nothing. There's nothing. These are loads that you wouldn't even, nobody's taking them. They're just on the load board. They've been on there since yesterday. You can see, right? Let's type in a different city. That's from Chicago. Maybe Tennessee, maybe Nashville is closer, and they'd send resources from Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville, Tennessee, within 250 miles of Nashville, to Asheville, North Carolina, within 125 miles. Let's see, that's it. That's all the loads. That's all the loads that are 28,000 pounds and less. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I mean, what the hell is going on here? I had brokers call me and tell me, Stu, have you seen any loads going to Asheville or like anywhere around the Carolinas, South Carolina, Georgia? Is there any like FEMA loads? There's none.
What he's saying is that basically in a disaster scenario like this one, there should be hundreds of trucks going to a town like Asheville, which is home to nearly 100,000 people. And yet, according to jobs posted online, the traffic to that city is non-existent. Now, one reason for this absence of traffic to that area might be the total destruction of roads in that area. But there might be another more sinister reason for all of this. We all know that the town of Asheville is absence of traffic to that area might be the total destruction of roads in that area. But there might be another more.
Let's read this real quick. Unbelievable. Again, you can pause it to see, to read the whole thing.
Sinister reason for all of this. We all know that the town of Asheville is located basically right next to the biggest lithium deposits in the area. So, by dragging their feet and providing aid, the government might be able to convince a lot of folks to sell their properties to those mining companies. But if they think we Americans are going to stay silent while they steal all this land, well, then they're seriously mistaken. Because as per usual, I'm going to keep bringing these stories to you, and together we can make enough noise.
I've seen a lot of channels, a lot of different stories about what's going on with the Hurricane Helene and with Milton. Lots of things. And then go to this one too. Hopefully I can remember to put a link to Jimmy Dore's show in here too. It's amazing. I'll just play a little bit of this one.
Hey, have you ever wondered what happened to...
Of course, hold on.
Showed you Kamala Harris got completely ratioed. The biggest ratio I've ever seen on Twitter for tweeting out that they're sending aid to Lebanon. And they could do it like that. Well, right now we've told you that FEMA announced that they're out of money. They don't have enough money for another hurricane, which is one's coming to Florida right now.
No money.
They're not going to call, but they somehow need Congress to come back in session to give more money to FEMA. But they don't need Congress to, but they don't need Congress to come back in session to send money to Lebanon.
Well, that's important.
They just do that. Like, why is it that the president and Kamala Harris can just send money to Lebanon, almost $500 million, while she says people in North Carolina have to apply for $700, and then they get turned out. They're all getting turned out for that money anyway.
Jimmy, can I just make it
unbelievable? So maybe I'll have to do another. I'll just put the link in there for this one. But it's insane. So Congress is not in session. You know, they're out right now. So that's the reason they're saying that they can't, get the money for FEMA for North Carolina, Florida, and now for the upcoming Florida Milton hurricane. And then, you know, the one guy in here, this reporter who always is asking the important questions, he asked, you know, how come, you know, Congress doesn't have to be in session to give out money to other countries, but they have to be in session in order to get money to people in the United States. And then she just calls it misinformation. Really? It's not misinformation. You're the misinformation. So I'll try to put that link in there too. I'm getting really disgusted with our government. And that's why I say, don't vote for the devil. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that the right side, the former president, is the answer, because I think, you know, no matter what happens, you know, whatever their plans are going to go through, no matter what. That's why I don't think there's going to be an election, or if the former president wins, he won't be there long, because it will destroy their plans for the New World Order and the Great Reset. So that's why I don't think it's going to happen. But please don't vote for the devil. I'd rather not vote at all than to vote for that side. So there you go. Thanks for watching. God bless. There'll be more. Please put in the comments if I don't put the links into to both of these videos, because I'm busy and I have to get going. But please put a comment in there, and I'll add it later if not. But you guys can see the videos where they're coming from. Love you guys. God bless.